Book of Heaven, Volume 24, June 12, 1928. How God feels the joys of the first times of creation being renewed. The enchantment that the divine will produce for the human will. Example of the sun. When and where the marriage with humanity was done, and when it will be renewed again. I continue my round in the acts which the divine fiat did in creation, and which it still preserves in its own hand, with such power and wisdom, as if in each act it repeated the act already done, while it is nothing other than the continuation of one single act. Now, while my mind was carrying itself into Eden, my sweet Jesus told me,
"My daughter, when you do your round in my will, in order to trace all of its acts, to surround them with cortege, to love them, to make them one with yours, and you arrive at Eden, I feel the joys, the feasts, the happiness that our divinity felt in creation being repeated. Oh, how seeing you flow in the sun, in the wind, in the sea, in the heavens, reminds us vividly of the rapid flights of the first creature that came out of our creative hands. In fact, since he was in the unity of our will, of all our acts done in creation for love of him, he would make one single act, and in his single act, he would bring us all our acts as though in triumph. So Adam would bring to us all the joys of all the things which we had as though scattered, ordered, and harmonized in the whole universe. And oh, how happy we would feel in seeing him so rich, strong, powerful, of an enchanting beauty, coming before us, endowed with all our works, and bringing them to us to make us happy, and to glorify us, and to be happy together with us. So in seeing you continue his flights and go around everywhere, we see how beautiful is the life of the creature in our will. It seems that she wants to enter into all our acts. She wants to take everything, but to do what? To give us everything and to make us happy, and we give her everything in return, saying to her, "These are your things. For you, we have created them and issued them from ourselves." So in seeing this, we feel the desire to restore the creation of man and to give the kingdom of our will.
Then, with a more tender emphasis, he added,
"My daughter, power I do not lack, neither do I lack will. Therefore it is I who must lift again decayed man and restore him, because the human will render the work of our creative hands a wreck."
Then, moved to tears and sorrowful for poor man, he kept silent. And I thought to myself, how can we return to the original state of creation, since the human will has made man fall into an abyss of miseries, almost deforming him from the way in which he had been created? And my sweet Jesus added,
"My daughter, my will can do anything. Just as it made man from nothing, so it can draw the new man from his miseries. And without changing method from the way in which we created him, leaving him his free will, we will use another loving device. The light of our will unleash its most refulgent rays more strongly. It will draw close in such a way as to look the human will in the face, which will receive the enchantment of a penetrating light which, while dazzling it, sweetly draws it to itself. And the human will, attracted by a light so radiant and of rare beauty, will have the desire to see what is so beautiful in this light. In looking, it will undergo the enchantment. It will feel happy and will love, not being forced but spontaneously, to live in our will. Does the light of the sun not have this virtue, that if one wants to fix on it, the pupil of the human eye remains dazzled in the light, and if it tries to look, it will see nothing but light, and the power of the light prevents the pupil from looking at the things around it? And if man is forced to lower his eyes to be freed of the light, it is because the excessive light hinders him, and he does not feel happy. But if he felt happy, he would not easily withdraw his pupils from within the light of the sun. On the other hand, the light of my will not hinder the pupils of the soul. On the contrary, she will have the good of seeing the very human acts converted into light, and will yearn for this light to unleash its rays more strongly, so as to see her acts with the enchantment and the beauty of this divine light. My will has the power to solve the problem of man, but it must use a more excessive act of greater magnanimity of our supreme fiat. Therefore, you pray and plead a cause so holy for poor creatures.
After this, since it was the feast of Corpus Domini, I was thinking to myself that day was the feast of the marriage that blessed Jesus did with souls in the most holy sacrament of love. And my beloved Jesus, moving in my interior, told me,
My daughter, the true marriage with humanity was done in creation. Nothing was lacking, either to the soul or to the body. Everything was done with royal sumptuousness. An immense palace was prepared for the human nature, such that no king or emperor can have one similar to it, which is the whole universe, a starry heaven and its vault, a sun whose light would never be extinguished, flourishing gardens in which the happy couple, God and man, would stroll, amuse itself and maintain the continuous, uninterrupted feast of our marriage, and garments, woven not with matter, but formed of purest light by our power, as befitted royal persons. Everything was beauty in man, soul and body, because the one who prepared the marriage and formed it was of an unreachable beauty. So, from the external sumptuousness of the so many enchanting beauties present in the whole of creation, you can imagine the internal seas of sanctity, of beauty, of light, of science, etc., which the interior of man possessed. All the acts of man, internal and external, were as many musical keys which formed the most beautiful melodies, sweet, melodious, harmonious, which maintained the joy of the marriage. And each additional act that he would dispose himself to do was a new little sonata that he would prepare to call his spouse to delight with him. My divine will, which dominated humanity, brought him the new continued act and the likeness of the one who had created him and married him. But in such great feast, man broke the strongest bond in which lay the whole validity of our marriage and through which it had been in force. He withdrew from our will. Because of this, the marriage was broken, and since all the rights were lost, only the memory of it was left, but the substance, the life, the effects no longer existed. Now, the sacrament of the Eucharist, in which my love overabounded in all possible and imaginable ways, cannot be called either the first or the true marriage of creation, for I do nothing but the continuation of what I did while being on earth. According to the needs present in souls, with some I make myself the compassionate doctor in order to heal them, with some the teacher to instruct them, with some the father to forgive them, with some light to give them sight. I give strength to the weak, courage to the timid, peace to the restless. In some, I continue my redemptive life and virtue. However, all these miseries exclude the true marriage. No young man marries a young woman who is ill. At most, he waits for her to recover, or a young woman who is weak and who offends him very often. And if the groom is a king and loves her, at most he waits for the bride to get well, to love him, and for her condition to become somehow satisfactory and not so inferior to his. Now, the condition in which poor humanity finds itself is still that of a poor ill one, and I am waiting for my will to be known and to reign in the midst of creatures, for it will give them true health, royal garments, beauty worthy of me. Then will I form again the true and original marriage.